What happens if, God forbid, somebody has a fatality? Like you destroy the airplane and you actually hit somebody or property on the ground. How would that renter's policy help your loved ones later on?
So if I show up to a flight school, you're ready to get checked out, but you just need renter's insurance. Could I technically go online and just go get one right then and there and be ready to fly still?
Do your hours and make and model really affect premium that much for most people on a renter's policy or on a CFI policy? Like what actually controls what the premiums go up and down?
Welcome to the Aviation Mentors Podcast, the podcast that takes your dreams of flight and turns it into reality.
Sponsored by Strass Financial, financing your flight training.
For pilots, by pilots. I'm Brandon Martini, a commercial pilot and flight instructor.
And I'm Carson Vasquez, I'm a private pilot.
Whether you're a seasoned pilot or beginner with dreams of flight,
Aviation Mentors is your source for expert insights, industry trends, and inspiring stories.
So fasten your seatbelts and prepare for this incredible journey through the skies.
And stay connected with us on social media for exclusive content.
And visit our website at www.aviationmentors.com and let us be your co-pilot on this adventure.
And before we take off today, a quick thank you to our episode sponsor, Skywatch Aviation Insurance. Whether you're just logging your first hours or been flying for years, Skywatch has aviation insurance made easy for you. Get your quote today at skywatch.ai/mentors.
Welcome back, everybody, to another awesome and, of course, amazing episode of the Aviation Mentors Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. See, it's been a long morning already for me, Carson.
Clearly, yeah.
I started this morning at 6 a.m. I know, it's the first time for everything.
That's kind of rare.
Yeah, even with it cloudy outside. Okay.
We were
I don't-
talking about it's like one of the 10 days a year it's cloudy here.
I know, and I'm ready to go today.
All right, let's do this.
I've had my whole Celsius and everything.
I know, you look full of energy.
I know, it's fantastic. Well, today we have some special guests. I know back in episode 221, and you remember a few episodes back, right in the middle of our hygiene episode, which was kind of funny.
Fran's favorite.
My favorite, yes, about CFIs not taking care of themselves or students. We started talking about insurance a little bit, and we said we were going to have special guests on. And those special guests today are actually our newest sponsor for the Aviation Mentors podcast. So we want to thank them so much for sponsoring our podcast and what it will do to help other aviators around the world in learning how to fly. So thank you so much again. Carson, would you like to introduce our amazing new sponsors and guest today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Tomer Kashi, the CEO of Skywatch, and Stephanie, head of sales and customer service, which is actually a job title I think I had when I first started at Stratus.
You did.
Yeah, something along those lines. So I can totally relate to you, except it looks like you have a much better boss than I did.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Uh,
Great. Thank you
So,
both for being on the show today.
confirmed. Absolutely, it's great to have you. Tomer, I always have a couple of questions, and I ask them to everyone. You have a particularly cool background that's super interesting to me. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got into aviation?
Sure. Yeah, sure. And thank you for having us. I think it's great fun to be in a podcast like yours. I even have a chance to listen to a few of the episodes, and that's great content for aviators. Um, so I'm Tomer. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Skywatch. I'm originally a tech guy, not an insurance guy. And actually, I started my kind of math degree at high school. Went in the Israeli Air Force for an elite R&D program that you kind of like mainly code and do data analysis stuff. And after about like a decade coding for the government, I was kind of looking to do like the next big thing. Together with my co-founder Ori, we wanted to get into drones. Drones back then were very exciting, taking off. No pun intended.
Oh, the puns were
And
always intended, Tomer.
it felt a bit like a risk analysis and safety platform for drones. Quite quickly, we realized that the biggest problem in drones was actually not the risk; it was the insurance. Drone that cost, let's say, $1,500, you would pay $1,000 a year for insurance for this drone, and it just didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. Long story short, we created much more risk-aware, technology-first insurance product for drones. it became today probably the largest commercial drone insurance provider in North America. And once we did that, we kind of realized, well, there is much more in the aviation world than drones. Let's do real aviation. And not long after, we launched insurance for renters, our renters insurance products for students, for CFIs. We're doing it not only on an annual basis, but also on a monthly, weekly, daily basis, because many of the pilots want a short-term solution when they rent an aircraft. And the other area that we went after is owner's insurance. So if you own an aircraft with Skywatch, you can go online and get a quote and even buy insurance online as if it was car insurance. Okay, so I think that the aviation insurance industry is kind of like lagging behind other segments of the insurance world, like car insurance, home insurance, and we're trying to kind of like bridge this gap with technology.
What's really interesting about that, I mean, I've bought a lot of insurance policies over my life, for business, for cars, for airplanes, for everything. And it's been really interesting how you're right, the aviation industry lags behind in this, but it's also important to have it for several reasons. And as a lot of our listeners know, and you know, I owned flight schools for a very long time until I exited them in July of 2023. And of course, I've had Stratus for several years. We have a lot of insurance policies, everything from general liability all the way to cyber policies, all sorts of different things, right? Things that we hope we never have to use, but we have it and hope we don't need it. Same thing on different policies for insurance. And with most students that go to flight school, they do not have insurance policies. And most CFIs don't have insurance policies. I think that if you own anything, you need a CFI insurance policy, period. Also, flight schools have insurance policies on their airplanes, and sometimes they don't force their students to have renters insurance policies, which helps cover the deductible, the time lost in the aircraft, things like that. So, if you were to give some advice to flight school owners or to renters, what type of policies would you look for, and what types of things would would you advise somebody have, minimum policy limits, et cetera? And I know that's pretty we're gonna talk about numbers here, and if you're listening to us on a radio in your car, it's gonna kinda suck, but, hopefully we can not be too technical, Tomer, so we don't lose everybody here. But I think these things are really, really important, and that's the reason why we wanted to have you on the podcast today and promote this a little bit because it's very important. I've had a couple losses at my flight school when I owned it, and one of them was a total loss on an aircraft, and luckily the person was just fine. They walked away. They had a lot of experience, et cetera. But if it wasn't for insurance, it could have been really, really bad financially for me. So I'd love
Could
to
you
kind of know a
imagine
little bit.
not having insurance on that? Like,
No, I could not have imagined.
gosh.
I think, frankly, I do think it's an important topic, and I think it's kind of like cryptic topic for people that are coming outside of insurance. I came outside of insurance like a decade ago, and now I kind of, let's say, like brown belt in everything insurance related. But Stephanie is a black belt in everything insurance related. So maybe we can kind of, Stephanie, you can kind of like give a quick overview of yourself, and then we can get into practical things that people need to know about insurance, especially the school's policy versus the student policy, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely, yeah. So, Stephanie Kleeberg here. I entered the insurance industry in 2007. So, I have 19 years of insurance, primarily underwriting experience. So, I've analyzed risk for flight schools, for renters, for drones, for all realms of aviation insurance. And so, just some of the things that we like to advise the flight schools to, and of course the renters as well, is that everyone needs to know and there needs to be some transparency between whose policy handles what and then what to do in the case of a claim. And this is an important nuance. I think student renters not understanding how to navigate the insurance world, and certainly they're new to the aviation world as well, they need to understand what their policy would cover and then what the flight school's policy would cover too. And a flight school should be forthcoming on whether their policy does cover the renter, whether it covers the CFI, whether loss of use is included within that, or whether that financial responsibility is on the renter.
All of those things are very, very important. If I was a student and going to you and say, "Hey, what exactly do I need to cover myself for? Why should I even do this?" It sounds like just the flight school gets to take advantage of me if I accidentally get into a claim. It's not like they're gonna sue me. I have no assets because, by the way, that's what people think. Uh, and which is semi-true. Like, it costs a lot of money to file a lawsuit and go after these students. Like, I'd rather just cut them off than do that. But what is the benefit for the student besides just not screwing up their credit or something like that?
Sure, I would say the insurance policy should have the duty to defend in it, and defense costs, as we understand, of course. Just the legal environment in the United States, it costs a lot of money to even work through these types of claims. So the financial responsibility on the student, a policy should carry a liability coverage, which covers the renter for any damage that they would cause to property, airport property, any other property, a bodily injury as well. And then a renter's policy should also carry some type of deductible reimbursement if they're on the hook for the flight school's deductible or any type of additional damage to the aircraft as well. And those three components there, the liability, the physical damage to the aircraft, and then, of course, that duty to defend, the defense costs, are key components for a renter to consider.
I was thinking, actually, well, you just said that right now. What happens if, God forbid, somebody has a fatality? Let's say there's a midair or there's something. I'm thinking about an accident that happened at my airport a while ago that the guy took off in conditions similar today outside in California, where it was all foggy and misty, and found out he was overweight, over fuel, over everything, and had one too many passengers, and like a whole bunch of. Everyone says no accident starts with just one thing. It's always compounding of three or more, right? This guy did like 10. Okay, he took off, ended up couldn't sustain lift, ended up killing everybody on the plane and crashing into a house. He wasn't really renting then, but let's just say he was renting an airplane. He was in like a Cessna 310. Now, that policy, of course, you worry about you if you just clip a wing or you cartwheel down the runway, or you do something stupid, or you forget to put the gear down. Those are all normal rental policy things. Now, what happens if like you destroy the airplane and you actually hit somebody or property on the ground? How would that renter's policy help your loved ones later on?
Absolutely. So it would certainly need to cover any type of liability to the house. And you think about the hotel that that family would need to stay in, as well as their house is being repaired. And then any type of liability for sure for the aircraft, the house, things of that nature would need to be included. And that is a standard renter's policy. That is the purpose. If that gentleman had rented his aircraft, his policy would have to speak to each of those items.
So these are all standard items that would come into policy? Because these all seem like it just gets really expensive really fast.
It does, but that is where, that's where I think technology has been able to ease some of this burden, right? So, what is the purpose of a renter who's doing just a super quick check ride? Why do they need an annual policy, right? This was, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a static product. It would be an annual policy term with zero flexibility. And that is where I think technology has really improved and added some benefit to this particular product for a renter so they can get monthly policies, daily policies. It's great.
What's really interesting about that is I've had a renter's policy for the past 2 years. After I sold my flight school, I had a renter's policy for 2 years. It just expired a month ago because I don't really rent aircraft any longer. I was renting from this one place locally because I wanted to fly their DA-62, and they were one of the only people that would rent me a DA-62. As you know, that's a very, very expensive aircraft, and
It
there's not many
is.
people that will allow it unless you have the experience, which I had the experience, and they checked me out after one flight. It worked out really nice. And then the plane went down for maintenance for 6 months because of some reason. And guess who didn't get to fly it anymore?
You
Uh,
break it?
I did not
Yeah.
break it. No, no. The thing was, I still had to go get a policy. I don't know how much that policy was at the time, but I paid for it for 2 years, and it came up uh, for renewal like a month or two ago. And guess what? I didn't get. I didn't get that policy again, and it was just like I don't really use it. Why do I need it? And and knowing that I can get a policy with you guys pretty quickly, which is fantastic. Now, could I just get I can just get a policy for a month or a day, and is it exponentially more expensive than it would be for a year? Because I know it's not that expensive for the year when you look in
Yeah.
terms of how much it costs in aviation.
Yes, so I like a monthly, weekly, daily policy is obviously kind of like more expensive. So like a daily policy is not like one divided by 365 from an annual one, but it's still for someone like you, okay, that trends once a while, it's kind of like makes much more sense. I want to kind of, take you back for kind of the reasoning to buy a renter's insurance policy, and let's say like how the dynamics of this market work. Okay. So what usually happens is that the school has their own fleet insurance policy that covers the aircraft. And in like more often than not, they require their renters and CFIs to have their own renters insurance policy. Okay. So sometimes, the pilot knows that they need it for this liability scenario that you just like mentioned. But in like more often than not, just the school wants the pilot to have their own insurance policy. So then if something happens to the aircraft, then instead of going to the fleet insurance policy and paying the, let's say, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 deductible on their fleet insurance policy and have their insurance policy rate goes up the next year, what they can do is to go after the insurance policy of the student, and the insurance policy of the student will basically cover the deductible. Okay, so this is why so many schools now require their students to have such insurance. The nice thing about it, as you said, you don't need to buy an annual insurance policy if you need it only for 1 month, 1 week. And I think we made it much more simple. In conjunction with that, and again, about the dynamics of the market, most insurance agencies and carriers, they prefer to go after the bigger clients to insure the flight school, not the student, to insure the jet aircraft, not the Cessna. The reason for it is that for many of them, it's kind of the same work to service this like big or small account. And obviously there is like much more money in the big ones because they're getting paid by commission.
Yeah.
For a technology company like us, it's like virtually the same. We kind of built the technology once, and it doesn't matter for us if you're coming for 1 day, for 1 year. We will service you anyway. We love this low premium accounts that are we can provide them good service with technology, and this is why we can provide these short-term policies that many others prefer not to.
When you talk about these policies, and the short ones, I'm assuming are you a broker, or are you issuing the policies yourself, or am I using the wrong terms? Because I'm the finance flight school guy, right? I'm not the insurance guy, so maybe you can correct and make me understand, and of course
Yeah,
our listeners.
that's a great question, but like the ecosystem, hopefully no one will get bored after my answer. So there is kind of the broker that gets commission on selling policies and take no risk. There is the carrier that usually takes the risk and distribute their product through brokers. At Skywatch, around this renters insurance product, we're what's called program administrator. It's kind of like in between. So we do service the customers. We get commission for the policies that we sell. However, we took all of the antiquated IT that insurance companies have and just like rebuilt it on our system. So we do not only distribution but also the tech part. Okay, so we manage the entire insurance product, and then we either distribute directly through the skywatch.ai website, and or we also work with brokers that then distribute the Skywatch website. They have a link to Skywatch on their platform. Okay, and they use our technology in order to serve their customers in the same manner.
That makes sense.
So when I went through my renter insurance policy, it took about 30 days just for me to get my renter insurance. And I had the easiest answers to every question
Yeah,
because I have no
no to
experience.
everything.
No experience, no ratings, never flown a plane. But I wanted to get renter's insurance for those exact reasons, right? And it was kind of a
30
pain.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 30 days.
Last time when I got my policy, it took like over a week, personally. Mine's more complicated, but I still have no's on all the. Have you ever been a felon? Have you ever crashed a plane? Have you done all? Those are all no's for me. It still took me over a week, maybe almost 2 last time.
So
That wasn't with him, by the way.
no,
Anybody listening,
that
was
was
not with them.
Skywatch.
Yeah.
But my question is, what breaks it down, the process of getting this policy set? And how is it faster than my 30-day and his 2+ week ordeal?
Oh, it's Skywatch. It's real time. So it's very very different. I don't like I think that also generally speaking, like it never should take 30 days.
I could tell you look appalled that I told you it was 30 days.
Stephanie, what's your reaction to that?
I was just going to say, yes, that is a typical story, but that is the problem that we've solved, right? And so you had asked Brandon, you asked about the issuing company and if that was the right term. So Tomer had already addressed that, but we do issue these policies instantaneously upon binding coverage. So that means no 30-day wait. It's answer a few questions, go through the system, and then you get to read through the long insurance contract instantly upon purchase. So we do issue those policies instantly. No 30-day wait.
You know what time it is, Carson?
Time's up, Brandon.
It's time to talk about one of our favorite companies.
Which company would that be?
Aviation Mentors is excited to be sponsored by the one and only Stratus Financial, dedicated to supporting the next generation of future aviators.
Stratus Financial really understands the financial challenges that students face in pursuing their aviation dreams. That's why they offer student loans specifically tailored to aspiring pilots.
With competitive rates and flexible repayment plans, Stratus Financial helps take your aviation education to new heights.
So go visit their website today at www.stratus.finance. Just to be clear, that is not .com, it's .finance. And embark on your journey towards a sky full of possibilities.
Carson, it's time to get back to what we do best.
The show.
The show.
So if I show up to a flight school, on one of Brandon's planes, and he says, "Oh, you're ready to get checked out, but you just need renter's insurance," could I technically go online and just go get one right then and there and be ready to fly still?
Yes, you will do it from kind of your mobile. Go to the Skywatch website and just do it. I must say that that's not the only way for you to do it. We already
There's better ways.
actually we have a ChatGPT app that
No
you can
way.
search for Skywatch on ChatGPT, and you can really get rentals insurance from ChatGPT. But otherwise, we work with some of the scheduling software such as Flight Schedule Pro and others, and we work together with them to provide insurance. So let's say you rent an aircraft, you will have the insurance option on your checkout. Some of the flight schools work with us directly. Again, it's their interest that you will have insurance. So they work with us directly, and we provide them with co-branded portals that have the specific limits that the school want to have. Okay, so let's say the deductible limit on the school's policy is $10,000. Then we can make sure that all of the students of this school that are renting aircraft from this school will have at least $10,000 of physical damage on their policy. So that's another thing that we do with many schools today.
And you mentioned some flight scheduling software. There's one that we really support a lot, and his name is the owner's name is Brett. He owns a company called Four Forces. I'm not sure, and he's growing like crazy. If you're working with him already, fantastic. If you're not, I would love to make an introduction because that scheduling softwares, they're making changes on the fly almost daily because they're not a big giant private equity owned company like one of the large ones that you might have mentioned. So I'm a really big fan of him.
I had the pleasure of meeting him at Sun and Fun this year for the first time in person. So just an
Great guy,
absolute
huh?
pleasure to meet in person. Absolutely.
I told Brandon when once I got the demo of Four Forces, I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna be real upset with you if we don't work with them, just because of how great of a product this is, how great that team was." Yeah, I mean, it's something I would use at flight school.
Do your hours and make and model really affect premium that much for most people on a renter's policy or on a CFI policy? Or like what actually controls what the premiums go up and down, by the way?
So for that premium, of course, student pilots are going to pay the highest amount, your 0-time student. But as a pilot progresses in their journey, they will be able to see some relief in the premium. So getting that private certificate absolutely does impact the premium, as does, hitting certain hour thresholds. You hit the 100-hour mark, especially as you build time and type, there is some premium relief there as well. So CFIs, your most expensive policy will be a rotor wing CFI policy, right? But if a CFI is just doing some fixed wing, basic check rides, things of that nature, primary student instruction, that will be a lower premium policy. But time and type, hours, make and model experience, and then of course, building that certificates, that will be the biggest impact on the premium.
Nice. I want to go over one other thing that you mentioned earlier for your software. I think it is really valuable to our clients, and that is the fact that if you are at flight school and you're about ready to solo, and you can't go get a insurance policy, you can just literally go on their website or call them up and get a policy issued same day, next day. And that is phenomenal. You know how many students I've seen all around the US that say, I can't go get an insurance policy for 2, 3 weeks. And now I have to go, I can't just go, I can't go solo because I'm waiting for that policy. I'm having to wait weeks. That means I have to keep up on my training for those weeks without going solo. It means it's going to cost me a ton of
More
extra
than the
money,
policy will.
a lot more than the policy will. Exactly. For the entire year. That's unbelievable what you've actually solved here. So
The last year of my training or so, I just didn't carry renter's insurance. It was too much of a hassle, and for no reason.
let's shift gears a little bit on this. And there's a lot of pilots who listen to our podcast as well. And I want to talk a little about them because it's not just all just CFIs and flight school students. We do have certificated pilots that are commercial pilots that own their own aircraft as well. I'm one of those. I'm no longer a student anymore, and I don't teach very often. I know I'm getting old, Carson. I had to shave
Getting
my
old.
beard because it was too gray. Yeah, it's not black anymore. Um, so what can you guys tell us about policies for an aircraft owner like myself? Like for example, I have a Cessna 120. I have an insurance policy on that. I don't even know; it just auto renews at this point. But I'd love to get a quote with you guys and hopefully move that over to your firm. What can you tell us about those policies for aircraft owners?
So basically, you want your insurance rates will be to be lower, right? That's your question. The bottom line, Stephanie, how to do it?
Yes, absolutely. Go into the browser, same way with the renters. Very quick quote, bind, issue, pay within the portal, and you get your quote right there, along with your policy.
And you can bind same time, same exact way.
Bind and pay, absolutely. One transaction.
But what am I looking for with the policy? I mean, is it all full coverage? Like, I'm thinking with a car.
Like whole value. They're looking whole value.
Yeah, but we have like slight accidents, bumps. If your plane gets stolen, is there coverage for that? I have no concept of ownership of a plane, and I think a lot of listeners don't either. We're just poor kids that are just trying to fly. But when you actually, we're trying to understand the ownership and the cost of ownership of a plane. Um, and this is something that most people don't know about. They're going to end up Googling, and they just might get wrong info.
Absolutely. So luckily, the Barefoot Bandit story, if you all recall that one from several years ago, gave the industry just some good experience on how to handle theft with aircraft. So, but yes, I mean, if you're an aircraft owner, you want to cover your asset, right? And that is the physical damage, the whole coverage for the aircraft. Any type of hail damage, fire, little bumps, hit the fence on the way out, any types of those hangar rash, you hit the hangar door, any types of those coverages should be offered through a standard aircraft insurance policy. And of course, liability. I want to make sure that there's liability for any passengers on board the aircraft as well as bodily injury on the ground for those outside of the aircraft.
So I know like I said, I bought a lot of aircraft policies before, so I know some of the lingo. I know whenever I go to like Geico.com or State Farm or whatever it might be, I can literally take a little thing and like slide it back and forth on the coverage that I want on property damage, personal or liability, uh, uh, basically full coverage or liability only, all those different things, uninsured motorists, etc. I know on aircraft policies, they have movement and non-movement. They have whole coverage, and they also have uh, liability coverage. Those are kind of the key points that I'm probably talking Spanish now to Carson, right?
Absolutely, yes. When an aircraft there is a difference between when an aircraft is in motion or in flight, right? When the aircraft is moving under its own power, Those types of details do matter for a policy. If I would not encourage a listener, if they are flying their aircraft and need something beyond taxi coverage, do not try to save a few dollars and just buy ground not in motion coverage. And that those are the terms we use, right? In motion, not in motion, and then storage only would be another common one. And that is exactly as it sounds. Aircraft is sitting in the hangar, engines off, being worked on, something of that nature. That's storage only coverage. But if you're flying your aircraft, full flight coverage is a necessity.
One more question on here. And it's if I have, so I'm going to use my Cessna 120 because it's a pretty cheap airplane and I bought it for like 25,000 bucks, right? It's probably worth around, I don't know, 30-ish right now. It's got mid-time motors, things like that. Let's just say I want to insure it for $100,000. Will insurance companies allow me to do that? I know that with cars, that doesn't happen. They give you up into fair market value or FMV, right? By the way, you guys don't know this about me, but I was in vehicle insurance and damage claims for, I don't know, 15 years of my life. I wrote estimates on over 15,000 cars for insurance companies and negotiate with body shops on behalf of insurance companies. And I've also done the same thing for aircraft when I first got into this industry. So I know a little bit about insurance from that perspective because I was so involved in it for so long. But how would that work if I want to get over coverage on my plane? Do insurance companies allow me to do that, or will they bind the coverage and then say, no, 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 Brandon, you asked for too much money on your plane that's only worth $25,000?
So neither, actually. So you probably recall from your insurance days that insuring property to value is important. You want to be careful and cautious not to overinsure, nor do you want to underinsure either. And there's traps to fall on both sides of that. So just going into a portal, it is unlikely that a carrier would even allow you to get a bind for even get to that bind stage. With an overinsured aircraft, talking to the extent of 100,000 for a $30,000 aircraft.
You
So,
look sketchy.
yes, there's some rate bands in there, and value bands per aircraft. So that is once again just where the technology can help with assessing values and things of that nature. And there's so many valuation tools as well that are available to consumers and users, whether that's Aircraft Blue Book or VREF and things of that nature that can help users understand the value of their own aircraft.
I'm guessing if, let's just say I had my Cessna 120, but it was tricked out. Like I redid everything on it. I put like all these Garmin electronics in it. I upgraded everything so it's a bad blank stall plane, and
Like the Draco?
like a Draco, yeah, prior to it crashing. Uh, so if I did all that, it might be worth the 100,000. And would that be like a special binded policy, and it might just take an extra day or two?
So that's a really good question because it's like I think it's like very common that not every aircraft is the same, especially when you kind of put additional avionics and stuff. So this is why we have bands, and then it does happen from time to time that someone's aircraft is like so pimped
Yeah.
that
Racing stripes.
Mhm.
that
Oh yeah.
it's above the band, and yes, we can approve it. This is like not automatic. This sometimes needs to kind of we need to look at it from a manual perspective to make sure that everything is all right. But yes, these definitely happen from time to time.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
Just a quick, the other question that because I want it to be kind of educational and useful. The other question that you asked is about kind of what affects the rates, okay, and how can I get lower rates. So one answer is just like as Stephanie said, go to the Skywatch website. Probably that's the best rate that you can get. But more practically, okay, with regards to tips that can help you reduce the rate. So I think that the number one factor that affects the rate, besides the aircraft that you want to cover, is the proficiency of the pilot. Okay, your total hours and specifically the hours of your make and model. Okay, so the more you have there, the more affordable your insurance policy will be. Obviously, there are other factors such as your age, your training, airport, and so on and so forth. But really, the hours on make and model are crucial. Together with that, we know that many pilots are, students that are transitioning or someone who are buying a new aircraft that is more complex. So they have very low hours on make and model. Um, we know how to find proper insurance solutions for them as well. And in addition, to lower the rates as they become more proficient. Okay, so that's very important, that once you become more proficient on the aircraft, it is important for you as a pilot to make sure that your insurance provider really takes it into account and make sure that the rates are going down.
I think it's really fascinating. And it's not something I knew about because I'm 24 now. Been driving for 6 years, and I would figure that by now my rates would, for 8 years, can't do math. My rates would have gone down for my car, and they just don't. They never do. My fiance has had like 3 accidents, and her rate is about half of mine. And it's something I've always been like, oh, insurance is a nightmare. Insurance
Carson,
never
you're a
goes down.
male that drives a high-performance two-door sports car.
Okay, well, before the sports car, they didn't go down either. So let's just be clear about that. I'm a perfect driver, perfect record, right? And I was just like, oh, insurance is a nightmare. There's no getting out of it. So the fact that insurance goes down, which in this economy, you never see prices go down for something. So the fact that insurance kind of rewards your work and acknowledges that you're becoming a more proficient pilot, it's pretty comforting, and it's a lot easier to swallow the cost of going and getting a policy.
Absolutely. Now, I think on that note, I would love to wrap it up today. Where can we find both of you at? What is the best way to locate you? Where can people go and bind these policies if they are a flight school student sitting at a flight school and they need a policy because they're not going to be able to go solo and they need an emergency policy, or they're looking for a new one or looking for their first one? Where can they go find you today?
You just go to www.skywatch.ai. All of the products, all of the rates, everything is available online. Try us out. If you do want to call us, we're also available on the phone. So we're online first, but there is, someone from Stephanie's team that is an expert in what they do. Many of them are pilots and can really guide you through the process.
That's fantastic. If we want to reach out to either one of you directly, is there a way we can do that?
Feel free, yeah. Tomer K at skywatch.ai. That's my email.
Same one, Stephanie K at skywatch.ai. Yes.
Fantastic. Remember, if you'd like to reach out to either one of us, you can reach us on our emails, brandon@aviationmentors.com, Carson at, or for our producer, Mark, it's producer at. We also really appreciate our guests today and our newest sponsors from Skywatch.ai. They are an amazing platform for you to go get your insurance policy, and we cannot wait to have you get one. Now I'm going to go get one as well from them. Keep an eye out for my application. I just need a little bit extra love on there, okay?
He
But
apparently has a pimped out 120.
yeah, pimped out 120, exactly. But don't forget to look for us on LinkedIn. That is probably the best way to follow us along. I'm sure Stephanie and Tomer have one as well, so please look for them on there. Lastly, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all the things you're supposed to do on social media, as well as YouTube. If you have the pleasure of watching our beautiful faces on today, we really appreciate you. You're helping the podcast grow, and more importantly, helping the aviation community grow. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Is that all in one breath?
I think so.
All right, everyone. For my line in one breath, as we wrap up for the day, remember, we're here to guide you in your aviation journey. So fly safe and enjoy the ride.
See you, everyone.